Words are not just sounds. They are not merely tools for trade or social convenience. Words are the blueprints of your reality. Every time you speak, you are laying down a brick in the architecture of your future. Every time you think, you are sending a pulse through the living fabric of your biology. We often think of spells as something found in fairy tales or ancient mythology. But the word spell comes from the ancient Germanic word spellen, meaning to tell or to talk. When you speak, you are literally casting a narrative over your life. For centuries, we viewed the mind and body as two separate kingdoms. The mind as a ghostly pilot and the body as a mechanical ship. But more than 1,000 years ago, a man who bridged the gap between the spiritual and the physical saw the truth. His name was Ibne Sina, known to history as Avicenna. He understood that the soul does not just live in the body, it shapes the body. Today, modern neuroscience is finally catching up to his spells. Ibne Sina was a prodigy who had memorized the Quran by age 10 and was a practicing physician by 18. In his masterpiece, Al-Canon Fi Al-Tib, or the Laws of Healing, he did not just list herbs and surgeries. He documented the psychology of healing. One of his most famous observations involved two lambs. They were of the same age, weight, and health, and they were fed the exact same food. However, Ibne Sina placed one lamb in a peaceful environment. The other lamb was placed in a cage where, just a few feet away, a wolf was tied up. The wolf could not reach the lamb, but the lamb could see it, smell it, and hear its growls. Months later, the first lamb was thriving, strong, and fat. The second lamb, despite eating the same nutritious food, became sickly, emaciated, and eventually died. It did not die from a wolf bite. It died from the thought of the wolf. The constant state of fear, the mental spell of impending doom, physically withered its organs. Ibne Sina concluded that the power of the imagination is a physical force. He argued that if a person believes they are sick, the body will eventually manifest that sickness to match the mind's expectation. The reason the body listens to the mind so submissively is because of the nature of the subconscious. Think of your mind like a massive ocean liner. The conscious mind is the captain on the deck, making decisions. But the subconscious is the engine room crew below. They do not see the horizon. They do not know if the captain is joking or being serious. They simply follow orders. If the captain shouts, "We are sinking," the engine room crew does not look out the window to verify. They immediately begin to shut down systems, sound the alarms, and brace for impact. When you say, "I always get sick in the winter," or "I will never get over this," you are the captain issuing a command. Your subconscious mind accepts these words as absolute truths. It then begins to coordinate your hormonal output, your heart rate, and your immune response to align with that command. It is not interested in whether you are right or wrong. It is only interested in being consistent with your self-narrative. Moving from philosophy to the laboratory, we see what actually happens when you think a negative thought. The moment you perceive a threat, whether it is a real wolf or a wolf in the form of stressful thought about bills or illness, your hypothalamus triggers a chemical cascade. Your adrenal glands flood your system with cortisol and adrenaline. In the short term, this is a lifesaver. But when your words and thoughts keep you in a state of perpetual alarm, these chemicals become toxic. High cortisol levels suppress the immune system, telling your T cells to stand down because energy is needed for the fight. It increases inflammation and halts cellular repair because the body is too busy trying to survive an imaginary threat. Conversely, when you speak words of gratitude, safety, and healing, you trigger the release of dopamine, oxytocin, and endorphins. These are the body's internal repair kit. They lower blood pressure, stimulate the vagus nerve, and allow the immune system to go back on patrol. You're literally changing your blood chemistry with your vocabulary. The most undeniable proof of Ibne Sina's wisdom in modern science is the placebo effect. In clinical trials, a massive percentage of patients show significant improvement when taking a fake pill, provided they believe it is the real medicine. We have seen the placebo effect trigger the release of internal opioids for pain and even alter gene expression. But there is a darker side, the nocebo effect. This is when a patient is told a medication has a specific side effect, and even if they are given a sugar pill, they will often actually develop that symptom. Their mind spelled the illness into existence. In one famous medical case, a man in a clinical trial tried to end his life by swallowing 29 capsules of what he thought was a lethal drug. His blood pressure plummeted to dangerous levels, and he was on the verge of death. However, when a doctor revealed that he was in the placebo group and had only swallowed sugar pills, the man's blood pressure returned to normal within minutes. His body was reacting to the idea of the drug, not the drug itself. Ibne Sina taught that the imagination is the bridge between the soul and the flesh. Modern neuroplasticity proves this. When you vividly imagine an action, your brain fires the exact same neurons as if you were actually performing that action. If you imagine playing the piano, the motor cortex of your brain strengthens the connections for those movements. This is why visualization is a standard tool for elite athletes and surgeons. But it is also a tool for healing. If you spend your day visualizing your joints aching or your energy draining, you're practicing for illness. You're rehearsing the very state you want to avoid. Ibne Sina believed that a physician's primary job was to strengthen the patient's imagination toward health. If the patient could see themselves whole, the medicine was merely a secondary aid. To apply this ancient wisdom in a world filled with digital noise and chronic stress, we must practice mental hygiene. Just as you would not let trash pile up in your living room, you cannot let toxic words pile up in your mind. This starts with auditing your I am statements. The two most powerful words in any language are I am. Whatever follows them becomes your identity. If you stop saying, I am sick, and start saying, my body is in the process of restoring balance, you change your relationship with the condition from a permanent identity to a temporary state. Furthermore, you must use the language of process. Instead of saying, my back is ruined, say, my back is currently in a state of recalibration. The first statement gives your subconscious a stop order. The second statement gives it a work order. Finally, use gratitude as a shield. Ibne Sina noted that the spirit thrives on joy. Scientifically, gratitude is the fastest way to move the body from a state of stress to a state of repair. When you feel grateful before the healing happens, you're signaling to your nervous system that the danger is gone. Ibne Sina once said, the imagination is the beginning of all things. You are what you think, and you become what you imagine. We are living in an age where we have more medicine than ever before, yet we are more stressed and chronically ill than at any point in history. Perhaps it is because we have forgotten the spells.